So I'm finally almost done with this journal, and I've been writing in here since last year. But it's crazy to think that it's such a big part of my creative process, yet I haven't been writing as much as I used to. And I think it's because last year I was so obsessed with trying to find this process and something to stick to, right? Something to rely on, that I just had so many thoughts and so many struggles that I kind of wanted to share, right? But all these journals are real. These are real thoughts. These are very deep thoughts that I tend to struggle with. And it's so funny because I remember like a year or two ago, I would say, I would sit down and sort of talk to myself. I know that sounds crazy, but I was not necessarily talking to myself, but I was thinking in my head, like, okay, what if I just kind of shared my thoughts and shared everything that I tend to think about, right? And it's just like, no, because this is something personal. It's wrong, right? It just feels too deep, and I don't want to come off as like this serious person. And it's just like you tend to just doubt yourself, and you tend to allow this audience to control the way you want to actually be, right? And there's always something in the back of your head that you really want to sort of pursue, yet you kind of just let it stay there. And you feel nervous to actually add it into your life because it's like, whoa, this is a different phase. Am I ready for it? Is this something that I am ready to start? And it's just like very overwhelming, right? And you can tell that I'm always in my head now after just hearing this entire freaking thing. It all started when I stopped consuming so much online. And I think it's kind of ironic because I would hope to connect with people and people to watch my stuff and sort of gain something from it, right? Like, that's amazing. But part of me started to realize that it doesn't mean that I should stop consuming. It's just, I think it's better if I were to curate my content to people that I actually enjoy listening to. I think it's important for me to sort of watch people that I feel that I can have this deep conversation with. And every time I hear them speak, it's like, you don't always relate to them, but you understand them. And it's like the best feeling when you click something and they're just saying everything that you've been thinking about in the past 3 to 4 years that you don't normally see when you're swiping or just scrolling online. And yeah, it's just a great feeling, man. And you just would hope that you can get that sort of sense of friendship through the screen. Even though it's not real, sometimes it just feels very intentional. And I don't want to say this is like negative or positive, but a lot of times I tend to scroll and I see people sort of not suggesting, but telling people what to do. And it can come off as really like this is the right way to go by life. But if anything, I always try my best. And I know sometimes I probably say, you should do this, but like, no, I try my best to just share through my experiences. And if you guys can connect to them and relate to them in any way, that's great. But if you come from somewhere completely different, that's understandable. And I think overconsumption made me realize that I was sort of longing for these experiences that I see people living, and it's like, do I even care for this actually? It just helps so much when you stop comparing yourself to other people's experiences and I guess their entire life in general, and instead you start connecting with them and you start like paying attention to the fact that it doesn't have to be negative. But yeah, eventually there's this boring repetition that I go through, and I try my best to not tell myself like, oh, like this isn't a good thing, but in reality it's a part of the phase. It's a part of this like process of being a creator. It doesn't necessarily mean that I should just let it go, right? And this whole conversation right now actually made me want to write a journal real quick. I just had so many thoughts in my head right now, and I'd love to share it with you guys. And again, thank you for just taking the time to click my content and even just comment, or if you just glanced at it, that's great. I'd accept that. Sometimes nothing needs a reason. And I think that's why I had so many unfinished ideas and projects that, I had such a big vision towards. It's because if I couldn't establish every detail behind it, and it wasn't the way I visioned, I don't see the need to continue, which is kind of the wrong way to go by it. This process is a long battle of learning to trust yourself over and over again. And I think those imperfections are actually disguised as some of your best creations. So I don't think you always need to find an answer for every aspect of your life.